It is given these days in Mariupol, where Ukrainians are resisting a Russian force which greatly outnumbers them, because they are fighting to reaffirm basic ideas that they are the master of their future and not a foreign leader, that it is the international law that counts and not the right of might, and that Putin must pay a price, a high price, for his brutal aggression. Thus, the future of our European Union is also written in Ukraine. And therefore, today I would like to speak about two topics. First, about sanctions, and second, about relief and reconstruction for Ukraine. Today, we are presenting our sixth package of sanctions. First, we are listing high-ranking military officers and individuals who committed war crimes in Bucha, and those who are responsible for the inhuman siege of the city of Mariupol. This sends another important signal to all perpetrators of the Kremlin. We know who you are. We will hold you accountable. You're not getting away with this. Second, we finally de-SWIFT Sberbank. Sberbank is the largest Russian bank. It holds round about 37% of the whole banking sector. And we will also de-SWIFT two other major banks in Russia. By that, we hit banks that are systemically critical to the Russian financial system and Putin's ability to wage destruction. This will solidify the complete isolation of the Russian financial sector from the global system. Third, we're banning 3 big Russian state-owned broadcasters from our airwaves. They will not be allowed to distribute their content anymore in the European Union in whatever shape or form, be it on cable, via satellite, on the internet, or via smartphone apps. We have identified these TV channels as mouthpieces that amplify Putin's lies and propaganda aggressively. And we should not give them a stage anymore to spread these lies. Fourth, the Kremlin relies on accountants, consultants, and spin doctors from Europe, and this will now stop. We're banning those services from being provided to Russian companies. And my final point, number 5, on sanctions is oil. When the leaders met in Versailles, they agreed to phase out our dependency on Russian fossil fuels. In the last sanction package, as you know, we started with coal. Today, we are addressing our dependency on Russian oil, and let's be clear, it will not be easy, because some member states are strongly dependent on Russian oil, but we simply have to do it. So today, we will propose to ban all Russian oil from Europe. This will be a complete import ban on all Russian oil, seaborne and pipeline, crude and refined. We will make sure that we phase out Russian oil in an orderly fashion, so in a way that allows us and our partners to secure alternative supply routes and at the same time be very careful that we minimize the impact on the global market. And this is why we will phase out Russian supply of crude oil within 6 months and refined products by the end of the year. Thus, we maximize the pressure on Russia, while at the same time, and this is important, we minimize the collateral damage to us and our partners around the globe, because to help Ukraine, we have to make sure that our economy remains strong. Honourable members, with all these steps, we are depriving the Russian economy from its ability to diversify and to modernize. Putin wanted to wipe out Ukraine from the map, and he will clearly not succeed. On the contrary, Ukraine has risen in bravery and in unity, and it is his own country, Russia, that Putin is sinking. Honourable members, we want Ukraine to win this war. But we also want to set the condition for Ukraine's success in the aftermath of the war. And this is my second point, relief and reconstruction. The first step is immediate relief. This is about short-term economic support to help Ukrainians cope with the fallout of the war. We have done a lot already. Let me remind you our microfinancial assistance package or the direct support to the Ukrainian budget. In addition, we recently proposed to suspend all import duties on Ukrainian exports to our Union for 1 year. And I'm sure that the European Parliament will put its weight behind this idea and this proposal. But we all know this is not enough for the short-term relief. Ukraine's GDP is expected to fall by 35 to 50% this year alone. And the IMF estimates that from May on, Ukraine needs 5 billion euros per month, plain and simply to keep the country running, so to pay pensions, to pay salaries, to provide for basic services. We have to support them, but I also know that we cannot do this alone. So I very much welcome that the United States announced massive budgetary support, and we, as Team Europe, we have to do our share too. But then, in a second phase, there is the wider reconstruction effort, and you all know that the scale of the destruction is staggering. Hospitals and schools, houses, roads, bridges, railroads, theatres, factories, you just name it. So much has to be rebuilt. Of course, in the fog of war, it is difficult to come up with a precise estimate. But economists are talking about several hundred billion euros. And here, honourable members, I think Europe has a very special responsibility towards Ukraine. With our support, and of course with the help of the international financial institutions and other global partners, Ukraine can rebuild their country for the next generation. And this is why today I propose to you that we start working on an ambitious recovery package for our Ukrainian friends. If we do it right, this package should bring massive investments to meet the needs and the necessary reforms in parallel. So it should address the existing weaknesses of the Ukrainian economy and lay the foundation for sustainable long-term growth. It could set a system of milestones and targets to make sure that the European money truly delivers to the people of Ukraine and is spent in accordance with European rules. It could help fight corruption. We have to do that. It could align the legal environment with European standards and radically upgrade Ukraine's productive capacity. And this will bring the stability and the certainty that is needed to make Ukraine an attractive destination for foreign direct investment. And eventually, honourable members, it will pave the way for Ukraine's future inside the European Union. Slava Ukraini, long live Europe.
Thank you very much, Commission President. I now give the floor to the representatives of the political groups, starting with the EPP Group, Esther de Lange.
Thank you, Madam President, Madam Minister, Madam President of the European Commission. Beste collega's, het is vandaag 4 mei. En in Nederland betekent dat wij om 8 uur vanavond allemaal even stilstaan. 2 minuten staat het land stil en zwijgt om de doden te herdenken uit de Tweede Wereldoorlog en alle die daarna gestorven zijn tijdens operaties en vredesmissies wereldwijd. En op een dag als vandaag voelt het daarom een beetje vreemd aan om in dit debat, de titel zegt het al, te spreken over de economische consequenties van de oorlog hier in Europa. Het is opnieuw oorlog op ons continent en de consequenties hier in de EU vallen natuurlijk absoluut in het niet bij datgene wat er gebeurt in Oekraïne. And of course, our main focus is and should remain not on the economic consequences here, but on the consequences in Ukraine and how to help them against Putin's barbaric war. And this is why I'm very grateful to the Commission that they will announce their 6th sanctions package today, and for the words that the Commission has spoken about the reconstruction and the help to Ukraine. But that being said, we should also talk about the socio-economic consequences here and our capacity to act. Because as a European Union, unity is our strongest weapon against this war. And if we want to sustain this unity, we also need to address the consequences here. I think, Madam President of the Commission, for the EPP, we badly need an analysis of the cumulative effect of the war, the rising energy prices, the shortages in raw materials, new legislation on the table, the impact that has on companies and on citizens within the EU. We need to address the consequences also on families, some of them not even turning on their heating because they can no longer do so. And this is why, of course, we're working to address these consequences in the fund that is proposed. And finally, we need to work to address the consequences on companies and on industries. And for the EPP, that means a diversification strategy for raw materials, I think, which is badly needed. The necessary investment for the roll-out of renewable energy. And finally, let's be very honest, we are asking a lot from our industries. And don't get me wrong, the EPP wants to achieve the objectives of the Fit for 55 package and the climate law. But we may have to look at a legislative embargo for new legislation to make sure that we're not burdening certain industries that are suffering badly with the cumulative effect of higher prices, the ambitious Fit for 55 package, and, for example, let me mention one piece of legislation, new REACH at the same time. Let's be honest. We stand ready to work with you, but let's do it in a smart way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. De Lange. And now, on behalf of the S&D Group, I invite Irache Garcia Perez to take the floor.
Gracias, Presidenta. Hablemos sin eufemismos, señorías. Estamos en guerra. La Unión Europea respalda a Ucrania como país agredido con todos los medios a nuestro alcance. Sanciones, armas, auxilio a refugiados y diplomacia. Sin el valor del pueblo ucraniano y sin el apoyo de la Unión Europea y nuestros aliados, Ucrania no habría resistido la agresión criminal de Putin ni habría frustrado sus planes de una conquista rápida. Ahora se libra una batalla decisiva en el Donbass y es preciso avanzar. El paso siguiente debe de ser el corte de gas y del petróleo, como hoy nos ha anunciado la presidenta de la Comisión, en la línea de lo que ya este Parlamento había planteado y, por lo tanto, debemos congratularnos. En paralelo, debemos trabajar en una estrategia de desconexión desde la construcción de plantas regasificadoras e interconexiones internas, negociación conjunta con proveedores alternativos y un acelerón urgente de las renovables. Yo, en este sentido, estoy totalmente en contra de lo que ha planteado la representante del Grupo Popular Europeo. Creo que ahora más que nunca es necesario avanzar en el impulso de las políticas de lucha contra el cambio climático, porque son las que han puesto en evidencia las propias deficiencias que tenemos como Unión Europea. Hundir a Putin no significa abandonar a su suerte a aquellos países más afectados por su alta dependencia del gas y de petróleo ruso. Somos conscientes de que hay países mucho más afectados por estas decisiones. Hundir a Putin significa resistir, fortalecer nuestra determinación y reaccionar colectivamente ante un momento crucial de la historia de Europa sin ignorar los efectos asimétricos de esta crisis, intentando entender que es necesario, por lo tanto, el principio de solidaridad para todas las medidas que tomemos. Hundir a Putin significa también poner fin a una Unión Europea de ciudadanos de primera y de segunda, incorporando a Rumanía y Bulgaria al espacio Schengen y protegiendo nuestros valores. He tenido la oportunidad de ver en primera persona lo que está haciendo un país como Rumanía, poniendo en valor el principio fundamental de la Unión Europea de la solidaridad con la gestión de las fronteras y el apoyo a los refugiados. Y no es posible que, por un lado, les estemos dando las gracias por esa gestión y, por el otro lado, no seamos capaces de entender que tienen el mismo derecho que el resto de países, cuando cumplen todos los criterios, de formar parte del espacio Schengen. Por lo tanto, esa es otra reflexión que deberíamos de plantear y, sobre todo, un toque de atención al Consejo. Nuestra ciudadanía es consciente del drama que vive y ahora es la Comisión Europea quien debe de estar a la altura del mismo ante el reto financiero que supone todas estas medidas. Hoy necesitamos un gran plan económico urgente que frene el aumento de la pobreza, la desigualdad, el desempleo y la pérdida de poder adquisitivo como consecuencia de la rampante inflación provocada por el encarecimiento de los carburantes y de los alimentos. Resulta intolerable que mientras las grandes multinacionales energéticas obtienen ingresos extraordinarios por los beneficios caídos del cielo, sean los más vulnerables los que paguen las consecuencias de esta guerra. Es que ese dinero que está en los bolsillos de algunos es a costa del sufrimiento de familias que hoy no pueden pagar la factura de la luz y se las ven y se las desean para llegar a fin de mes pudiendo pagar todas las facturas. Por lo tanto, debemos de actuar en ese sentido. En lugar de repetir los errores del pasado y recortar en medio de una crisis, debemos prorrogar la cláusula de escape del Pacto de Estabilidad y Crecimiento para invertir en nuevas tecnologías, justicia social, una defensa más sólida y un futuro libre de carbono. Y si la Unión Europea quiere mantener un liderazgo internacional frente a un creciente bloque de autocracias, tendremos que intensificar el apoyo a las poblaciones más vulnerables que están sufriendo las consecuencias de la barbarie de Putin, tanto en África como en nuestro vecindario más próximo. El futuro de Moldavia como Estado independiente y su deseo de formar parte del mundo libre debe contar con nuestro compromiso financiero y militar, no solo con buenas palabras. Una vez más en nuestra historia nos encontramos ante el imperativo histórico de restaurar la paz en Europa y de construirla más allá de los confines de nuestra Unión. Pero no podemos aceptar una paz sin justicia, porque siempre son los humillados y ofendidos, como nos recordaba Dostoyevski, quienes merecen un alivio a su sufrimiento, quienes merecen justicia. La única forma de alcanzar una paz digna es la derrota de Putin y la victoria de la libertad y de la democracia en Ucrania, lo que requiere nuestra unidad y nuestro sacrificio. Resistimos en 2012 para proteger el euro, resistimos en 2020 para frenar la pandemia y resistiremos en 2022 para preservar la paz y la democracia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Ms. García Pérez. Next, on behalf of the Renew Group, Luis Garicano.
Thanks, Madam President. It's good to see that I'm the fifth speaker and the first man, so that's a good. Just a quick few reactions to your proposals, Madam von der Leyen. I was very happy to hear about this RRF2, this Recovery and Reconstruction Fund, using the lessons from what we learned for Ukraine. That's good news. There was no news on how to finance it, so I hope that's coming. Also, I think that spending on reconstruction is very good, but as you very well said, there are very urgent funding needs, and we need to see how we're going to address them. And third, you mentioned the embargo on oil. This Parliament is really happy to hear that. Congratulations, and that's great news that we are moving on the oil embargo. But as you know, this is far short of what this Parliament wants. We actually asked a month ago for a full embargo on gas and oil. While the debate goes on, the EU has sent to Russia 50 billion euros since the start of the year, 52 billion today. And by the time we get all this oil embargo set, etc., Putin will have received over 100 billion euros more in revenues. We are now in the worst of all worlds. Consumers are paying the higher prices, but these high prices are sufficiently high that Putin gets higher revenues than before, more than compensated for the loss of volume. And some say nothing else can be done, and this is false. There is a clear solution which will collapse Russian revenue, incentivise substitution, protect consumers, and even, Madam von der Leyen, increase EU resources. What is this miracle? It is the oldest trick in the book, a tariff. A tariff on Russian energy would allow us to shift some of the extra revenues from higher gas and oil prices to us, the consumers, from the Russian producers. With a tariff, the price that European consumers pay will go up a little bit. Some consumers will continue consuming, some of them will stop. It depends on how much need they have. But the gap between the price that the consumers pay and what the Russians receive is actually the revenue from the tariff that would flow to the European taxpayers, the European Union, and that could be given back to Europeans to compensate for the higher gas prices. And the suppliers would be the ones facing the trouble, since a lower quantity is going to be supplied, it will be supplied at a lower price. Don't forget that Russian oil and gas suppliers are desperately dependent on European purchases. Between us and our allies, we purchase 80% of the oil and gas, and they will be willing to supply at the lower prices that the tariff will involve for them. Why? First, the EU and us are buying 80% of the fossil fuel exports, and the infrastructure bottlenecks make it very hard to shift those exports to Asia. Second, production costs are low at $20 a barrel, so they will actually have to accept those lower revenues rather than shutting down the wells. In short, a tariff would allow us to shift Russian revenues to the European Union consumers, all while accelerating an end to European dependency on Moscow's fuels. Even if a high tariff comes with a cost for the European Union, it is a more efficient way to stop Putin than any of the other sanctions that we already have in place before the embargo comes in as fast as possible. Let's do it now. It must be a new tool in our armour, enhancing our capacity to act. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garicano. I now give the floor on behalf of the Green Group to Sarah Mathieu.
Thank you, Chair, Madame la Ministre, Commission President. We've condemned the horrible and unjustified invasion in Ukraine by the Russian military forces many times before. And the European Union was highly united in its response. Severe actions were implemented, and just last plenary, this Parliament demanded an embargo on all Russian fossil fuels, including gas. However, these sanctions will not only harm the Russian economy, they will also affect the lives of European citizens with a direct impact on their homes, their jobs, their wallets. And this could lead to more social inequality, to a rise of unemployment and an increase in energy poverty. We need to protect our citizens, and specifically those at risk of falling into poverty, people that are afraid of not being able to heat their homes next winter. We need a strong social response to their fears. The EU has the choice to leave no one behind, to mitigate the rise in energy costs, to ensure decent and affordable housing for all. The EU has the choice to protect workers on the labour market against unemployment. The EU has the choice to ensure that climate transition is a fair transition where industry pays its fair share. We need minimum wages, minimum income protection for all, and a European unemployment scheme. Colleagues, we have the possibility to protect our citizens against the hardships of war. Well, now is the time to act. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mathieu. Next, on behalf of the ID Group, Jordan Bardella.
Merci Madame la Présidente de la Commission européenne. Depuis 2 mois, l'horreur de la guerre frappe notre continent. Ce conflit si proche de nos portes nous touche dans nos consciences et nous rappelle à notre devoir de solidarité face aux atrocités et aux crimes de guerre que subit le peuple ukrainien. Mais il touche aussi chacun d'entre nous, chaque peuple d'Europe, par la violence de ses conséquences économiques collatérales. L'inflation est de retour partout en Europe et elle accable d'abord les plus modestes qui voient renchérir les prix des biens de première nécessité. Se nourrir, se chauffer ou encore se déplacer devient hélas pour beaucoup une angoisse toujours plus rude. Cette guerre est d'abord et avant tout un questionnement sur notre dépendance, celle aux énergies fossiles importées comme aux produits alimentaires et aux produits agricoles cultivés toujours plus loin de chez nous, Cette guerre nous rappelle la plus vieille leçon de l'histoire, la souveraineté, c'est le prix de la liberté. Dès lors, il est crucial de renforcer notre autonomie énergétique en continuant à renforcer notre filière nucléaire, énergie la plus propre et la plus décarbonée dont disposent aujourd'hui nos sociétés, en refusant de céder aux pressions des Verts qui veulent renvoyer nos sociétés à l'âge de pierre économique par la réouverture des centrales à charbon. Notre devoir est aussi celui de reconquérir notre souveraineté alimentaire par la fin du libre-échange absolu et le développement du juste échange. Le recours aux circuits courts et au localisme, à la proximité, cette protection de nos filières agricoles passe par la fin de la folle stratégie de la ferme à la fourchette promue par la Commission et qui livre nos agriculteurs à la contrainte et à la ruine. La situation exceptionnelle que nous connaissons appelle à plus court terme des mesures d'urgence pour le pouvoir d'achat de nos concitoyens. Il faut baisser les taxes sur les carburants comme l'a fait la Pologne dès le mois de février. Nous souhaitons le faire en France où les taxes représentent près de 60% du prix à la pompe. Nous devons aussi nous résoudre à constater qu'à cet instant, les sanctions énergétiques prises par l'Europe ont affaibli notre pouvoir d'achat tout en enrichissant la Russie. Le rouble est à un niveau historiquement haut depuis 2 ans et les profiteurs de guerre s'enrichissent toujours plus dans l'exportation des matières premières. Le constructeur automobile Renault a été contraint de céder ses parts dans la marque russe Lada pour un rouble symbolique. C'est donc un institut dépendant de Poutine qui en a fait l'acquisition. Drôle de sanction qui conduit à saborder une entreprise française pour finalement permettre au gouvernement russe de la nationaliser gratuitement. Alors pour conclure, nous n'avons pas le pouvoir de décider de l'emplacement des gisements de gaz et de pétrole. En revanche, nous pouvons décider de protéger les nôtres tout en sanctionnant les profiteurs de guerre et en aspirant demain à retrouver le chemin de la dépendance. Il faut suivre un principe simple, les sanctions doivent continuer de cibler Poutine, le régime russe et ses décideurs, non le portefeuille des Européens ni les activités de nos entreprises. Je vous conjure de penser à eux. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Next, on behalf of the ECR Group, Raffaele Fitto.
Grazie Presidente, Ministro e signora Presidente della Commissione. Ho ascoltato con molta attenzione il suo intervento e penso che sia molto utile e importante questo confronto di idee per individuare delle soluzioni immediate e rapide rispetto all'evoluzione del conflitto. Non c'è dubbio che la strada perseguita è una strada che va portata avanti con decisione rispetto all'atteggiamento nei confronti della Russia, non solamente di condanna ma anche di azione concreta. Quindi il pacchetto di sanzioni è sicuramente l'elemento decisivo sul quale lavorare per ottenere dei risultati, ma il pacchetto di sanzioni è una premessa fondamentale rispetto anche alle reazioni e alle scelte che devono essere fatte in Europa. Noi sappiamo che non hanno una grande popolarità nel nostro continente e che in alcuni paesi rischiano di creare dei grossi problemi ed è evidente che servono delle risposte importanti e quindi sicuramente l'obiettivo di lunga scadenza della ricostruzione in Ucraina è fondamentale e fa bene la Commissione ad occuparsene, però oggi dobbiamo anche fare i conti con delle situazioni oggettive. La prima, l'export europeo tra febbraio e marzo ha avuto una flessione del 6%. È necessario dare una risposta forte in tal senso. Il fondo di compensazione, abbiamo un esempio, il modello Brexit utilizzato in quella direzione, può essere una soluzione perché le sanzioni non operano in tutti i paesi nello stesso modo, esistono paesi che ne subiscono maggiormente delle conseguenze rispetto ad altri. Seconda questione, delle scelte di carattere strutturale, lo accennava la collega De Lange rispetto al tema del Fit for 55. È pensabile che noi non modifichiamo nulla rispetto a quanto immaginato prima della guerra? La guerra non è un evento che ci deve portare a riflettere sulla necessità di cambiare l'impostazione che la Commissione e le istituzioni europee hanno messo in campo? Io penso di sì. E quindi i tempi di attuazione e i target troppo ambiziosi che sono presenti all'interno del Fit for 55 sono un elemento decisivo sul quale iniziare una riflessione per modificare queste scelte. Poi un'altra proposta concreta che si accompagna rispetto ad una necessità, una risposta sulle grandi questioni economiche e quindi sul patto di stabilità, un dibattito che viene rinviato ma che dovrebbe essere fondamentale per accompagnare le misure che devono essere portate avanti. Ed è il tema che anche ieri nel dibattito con il primo ministro italiano Draghi abbiamo sollevato. L'articolo 21 del RRF prevede in modo molto chiaro che in casi straordinari questi strumenti che sono con importantissime risorse possono essere modificati rispetto alle esigenze attuali. Ecco, se la Commissione prima della guerra ha previsto un articolo nel regolamento che indica la necessità di modificare i piani nazionali per poterli adeguare alle nuove esigenze, io penso che questo tema e che questa sia la circostanza nella quale prendere atto di questo e modificare le scelte in questa direzione per poter immaginare delle soluzioni adeguate in questo senso. Chiudo con un riferimento. Bisogna evitare dei distinguo, se vogliamo essere efficaci sulle sanzioni, su due elementi fondamentali: acquisti comuni e tetto dell'acquisto dei prezzi del gas. Su questo c'è bisogno di una risposta unitaria. I distinguo non aiutano e rischiano di indebolire complessivamente la strategia che mettiamo in campo. Grazie.
Grazie onorevole Fitto. Now on behalf of the Left Group, Martin Schirdewan.
Vielen Dank, Frau Präsidentin. Auf den Bahnhöfen in ganz Europa nehmen unzählige Freiwillige Millionen Geflüchteter aus der Ukraine in Empfang, Menschen, die Schutz, aber auch eine Wohnung, ein Einkommen, einen Job suchen, Millionen von Menschen, die vor einem brutalen Krieg und der Zerstörung ihrer Heimat fliehen. In der Ukraine sind derzeit Millionen Tonnen Getreide blockiert, die Ernte ist bedroht und in dem Supermarkt bei mir um die Ecke gibt es seit Wochen kein Sonnenblumenöl mehr. Die Preise für Butter sind im letzten Jahr um 44% gestiegen, die Preise für Gemüse um bis zu 30%. Nahrungsmittelpreise in der EU sind außer Rand und Band. Wegen des Krieges und der Unterbrechung der Lieferketten rechnen die Vereinten Nationen mit einer weltweiten Lebensmittel- und Hungerkrise. Der Krieg fällt in eine Zeit, in der die Energiepreise bereits vor der russischen Invasion in die Ukraine durch die Decke gegangen sind und 36 Millionen Menschen in der EU im Jahr 2020, das sind Ihre Zahlen, Frau von der Leyen, nicht angemessen heizen konnten. Der Krieg, die verstärkte Nachfrage nach der Pandemie, die Spekulation an den Strombörsen und das falsche Energiemarktdesign in der EU tragen zu dieser Energiepreiskostenexplosion bei. All das heizt die Inflation zusätzlich an. Mietkosten steigen, Nahrungsmittelpreise steigen, die Energiepreise steigen weiter, die Inflation frisst Löhne und Renten auf. Und deshalb brauchen wir jetzt einen europaweiten Energiepreisdeckel, damit Energiearmut effektiv bekämpft werden kann und nicht immer weiter aus dem Ruder gerät. Wir brauchen jetzt eine europäische Anstrengung, um die einkommensschwächsten europäischen Haushalte vor Inflation, Energiearmut und Hunger zu schützen. Und dafür braucht es eine Krisengewinnsteuer, die erhoben wird auf die zusätzlichen Gewinne der Energiekonzerne, der Rüstungskonzerne. Der Aktienkurs von Rheinmetall ist seit März um 120% gestiegen. Und auch der Pandemiegewinner, also der Pharmaunternehmen und der Big-Tech-Konzerne Amazon und Google, haben sich während der Pandemie ja bekanntlich dumm und dämlich verdient. Das wären effektive erste Schritte, um die gröbste soziale Not zu lindern. Und wir würden Gelder freisetzen, die sinnvoller wirtschaftlicher Produktion, der Landwirtschaft und bei der Integration der Kriegsgeflüchteten helfen würden. Es ist richtig, an der Unabhängigkeit von russischem Gas und Öl zu arbeiten. Deshalb aber Milliarden und Abermilliarden in den Rüstungssektor zu pumpen, halte ich für den falschen Weg, sondern diese Gelder müssen in die sozial gerechte Energiewende fließen, die uns schnellstmöglich von der Abhängigkeit fossiler Energieträger befreit. Und das gilt nicht nur für russisches Gas und Öl, sondern für Gas und Öl, egal woher es stammt. Und einige der verhängten Sanktionen sind leider in der jetzigen Form untauglich. Die Häuser, Yachten, Autos der Oligarchen werden ja quasi eingefroren. Das heißt, sie müssen in demselben Zustand erhalten werden, wie sie vorgefunden werden. Und derzeit zahlen also die europäischen Steuerzahler für die Instandhaltung der eingefrorenen Oligarchenbesitztümer. Ich finde das absurd. Der Besitz muss enteignet werden und anderer Verwendung zugeführt. Oligarchenvillen müssen geflüchteten Familien zur Verfügung gestellt werden, deren Yachten für die Naherholung. Hier muss dringend nachgebessert werden. Frau von der Leyen, vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shirdewan. And now on behalf of the non-attached members, Martin Gyongyeshi.
Thank you, Madam President, colleagues, President von der Leyen. There is a broad consensus here and in other EU institutions that economic sanctions on Russia are the most effective way of pressurizing Russia to stop its aggression in the Ukraine. The speed, the efficiency and accuracy of the sanctions proposed by the Commission need to be commended, especially its efforts to create an unprecedented unity among member states. It is unfortunate that it took such a disaster to realize the unhealthy dependence of our continent on Russian energy supplies and start discussions about a unified energy market based on diversified energy resources and solidarity among member states. In the past weeks, Russia has demonstrated that it's ready to use energy as a strategic weapon to further its aggressive geopolitical objectives. It must be clear by now that Russia in the long term is an unreliable partner for supplying energy to the EU. Therefore, I would like to ask the Commission not only to focus on fossil fuels when it comes to sanctions, but also target nuclear energy. Nuclear deals struck by Russian Rosatom with various governments of various member states must be phased out. Finland showed the way by terminating the Fennovoima deal with Rosatom that supplied a nuclear reactor, was the financial backer of the project and the main shareholder. It's time that Hungary follows suit and terminates its equally controversial Paks deal with Rosatom. The Commission would be right in its next sanction package to ban every Russian nuclear deal on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Sigrid Muresan.
Thank you, Mr. President, President von der Leyen, dear colleagues. We have all seen Russia is a threat for the security of the European Union and will remain a threat for us for the foreseeable future. This is why we can only live in safety and stability within the borders of the European Union if we are surrounded in our immediate neighbourhood by countries who are safe and stable. Helping Ukraine clearly means also helping ourselves. This is why the line needs to be continue supporting Ukraine, sanctioning the Russian Federation. President von der Leyen, we are welcoming the new package of sanctions which you presented to us, which you are putting forward. We as a parliament have demanded an immediate ban on imports of Russian oil, gas, coal and nuclear fuel. This is why, as the Commission will be implementing the ban on Russian oil, it has to be implemented, it has to take effect as soon as possible and in a way in which it does not allow for any loopholes and special treatments for member states, for companies, because this would endanger the unity of the European Union. Keeping our unity as we are also implementing this ban will be important, firstly. Secondly, as we reduce our dependency on Russian fossil fuels, we should not create dependencies on any other single route of transport, single source of energy or supplying country. We are seeing that any vulnerability, any weakness costs in times of crisis. What should we do within the European Union? Because the title of the debate is Social and Economic Consequences for the European Union. Firstly, we should use the existing tools which we have to strengthen our economy. There is still money available in the Recovery Resilience Facility because some member states have not accessed all of the loans component. We need to work with member states to see if they need the money, if they will access it, and if not, the position of our group of the EPP is to try to use those amounts for large energy projects, transnational energy projects, to interconnect, to bring energy to where it is needed within the European Union. If an amendment